Hey farm hands, Farmer Reef here. Welcome back to the Hulk. Today we are going to do a little bit of maintenance together. I'm going to show you a little bit of the process, what I do each week to make sure my tank is on point, it's clean. I'm keeping all my nitrates down, I'm keeping all my phosphates down, everything I want to do to make everything possible to work for this tank. As you can see, the tank is looking great. I always make sure I go over my glass every other day or more just to make sure my glass is nice and clean, because as soon as you let it go and you get such a buildup, it's a real pain in the butt to stay on top of all that. This is my algae scraper here. This is the great white magnet. This is the large for the larger tanks, up to 1 inch glass. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna clean up this glass, then we're gonna go in the filtration room. We're gonna clean out all 6 of my filter socks, change out the carbon as well. I run the Polyp Lab carbon. It's really good stuff. I'll show you guys why I really like that one, because it comes in a bead form, less dust, doesn't mess with your pH or any of that stuff. So we are gonna go through every little process here, what I usually do every week to make sure things are really kept up on my maintenance, because as soon as you start slacking on your maintenance, you're gonna have problems, guys. I like to run filter socks. Everyone's like, why don't you use, the wheel or all the new products that are out there right now? Well, I've always been a fan of running the filter socks. I find them very efficient. One, my carbon footprint, every time, say you use a filter floss or anything like that, it's going into the garbage, it's going to the landfill. With a filter sock, I clean it out, throw it in the washing machine, put some vinegar, put it on high heat, let it run for about an hour, and I let it air dry outside, and I can reuse it again. So I'm recycling and reusing, and I'm not, making my footprint any bigger by going to a landfill just by throwing it in the garbage, if you know what I mean. And I can use my filter socks for a long time until they're not usable anymore. Then I will make, and they will go into the landfill, but this way I'm using a lot less a year and not wasting as much money. I know like the roller flosses, they're really good. I see a lot of people are running them. You like them, that's awesome. But I've always stuck to sometimes the older methods on the tank, and maybe I have to clean them a little bit more often, but it's definitely a lot less waste going in the garbage going forward. And I find them very efficient. They catch all the little fine particles that you would see floating around in your tank. They filter that all out as well. And it's pretty cool, all the little critters that you're gonna catch in there, little serpent stars and all that. I can grab those or any pods, throw them right in my refugium, keep them all stacked up. So let's hear, this is the great white magnet. We're gonna go around, we're gonna clean all the glass with the magnet, clean all our sand lines. When you start your new tank, if you can try to keep your sand line really clean right out of the gate, it's gonna be so much better. Just take your blade, go right along right there, get an acrylic rod, and mess that all up so it looks nice. It doesn't have all that buildup around the edges. So this way, when it is a new tank and you can keep your maintenance on it, you're gonna have a lot less work to do for treating, cleaning off all that coralline algae around the edges, in the corners where all the silicone is. This way you just stay on top of it, and it's gonna look so much more pleasing to the eye when your tank is looking perfect, and you're definitely gonna enjoy it more. So let's dive in, let's clean the glass, let's change out the filter socks, let's throw them in the washing machine, let's take out the carbon, put the new carbon in. I haven't hooked up all my reactors yet for the carbon. I'm just putting everything in a bag, throw it right in the filter sock or in a high flow area, and it does the job perfectly. But I haven't got a chance to plumb those ones in yet, but it's gonna happen. So let's go ahead, let's get started. So what I always like to do is make sure and do all the sand stuff, all the glass stuff first, because whatever I work up in the water here is gonna flow over the overflow, and my filter socks are gonna catch it, because I don't want any particles or anything going through out my sump. I like to keep a nice clean sump where it's not dirty, full of detritus or any of that stuff. So I always go ahead first, and we're gonna go ahead and clean the glass, and everything can flow over and into the filter socks. So this care magnet, like I said, this is the great white model. It's good up to 1 inch, acrylic and glass. This is it's a good workout for you guys. So I'm just keep sure to keep everything clean. You always want to use 2 hands with this one. And this one here has the changeable blade out, so when it's dull, you can put the new one on. I always clean my glass line last, or the sand line. So next we're gonna wash down the glass. Go down to your local dollar store, get yourself a little spray bottle. I do 50% water, 50% vinegar, get some paper towels, and we'll just wash it down. One thing with the vinegar, if it does get in your tank, it's a carbon source. I would not use Windex, any kind of chemicals on your glass, because you don't want to get it in your tank. So you can either use paper towel, or if you want to do even one better, you can recycle, and you could use newspapers, because newspapers give you a streak-free shine. So this way we keep our glass nice and clean and free of any debris, or if you have a bunch of kids, get all their smudges of their hands off of it.
A todos los palomos dice que tienen millo, pero no tienen nada. Tengo Gucci, Prada, Balenciaga, todo lo que tú quieras ver. Palomo, alerta. Porque tengo los millones, chones, 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 chones. Porque tengo los millones, chones, 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 chones. Porque tengo los millones, tengo los millones, tengo los millones, tengo los millones. Porque tengo los millones, tengo los millones, tengo los millones, tengo los millones. Porque tengo los millones.
So now I have this finishing towel, I call it. It's from Aquarium, and I just want to take sure there's no residue left over, and I just wipe it all down, like say you're doing your sports car, just to make sure that there's nothing left over.
Vamos a volar, a volar, a volar. Donde estoy pegado, donde tú nunca estarás. Vamos a volar, que no somos de la tierra. Llegó el alienígena para darle todo guerra. El que está pegado siempre el que me abrirá. Si no lo ha luchado, aquí mismo te entierra.
The glass all done. We got the sand edge all done. We end up, we used 50% water, 50% vinegar. It's the same stuff you're gonna go buy at the store for like $6. Or you go down to the dollar store and get yourself a little sprayer and go get some white vinegar for like $1 at Walmart. So you save some money there. Paper towels to rub it down, and then to give it a once over, I got a nice finishing towel like you're buffing your car to buff it right out. This way there's no film or anything left over from the vinegar if there was any. So now the glass is done. We got some particles floating around in there. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of time for my tank to settle so the filter socks and skimmer can suck that all out. And then we are gonna go into the fish room, pull out all 6 filter socks. I have another 6 exchange walls going in. Then we're gonna go place everything into the washing machine, add the vinegar, let it do its cycle, take out those filter socks, go put them on the deck and let them hang out to dry. I don't like to put my filter socks in the dryer because I end up getting those little fuzz bunnies or whatever, and it looks awful and they start to ball up on there. Just let naturally air dry out there. I never use bleach or anything on mine. I haven't had to. Some people do that process and it works. I just haven't been a very big fan of adding bleach or kind of chemicals to anything, so I never really tried that, but it seems to work for everybody else. But I'm more of a vinegar guy and just let it happen. So let's let this settle a bit. Then we're gonna go into the fish room and we'll get that part started next. Before we get started in the fish room, I wanted to go over another tool that I use on my tank. I use active carbon. One reason I use active carbon is there's a lot of toxins in the water. It could be just from the environment, but even our corals, all the corals leave off different toxins, especially like LPS, any soft corals like zoanthids and stuff, they leave toxins into the water column. And what happens, like I'm running this tank with a lot of SPS corals, and I don't want them to be affected by the toxins let off by other softer corals. So I run carbon, and what it does, it'll absorb those toxins so it's not flowing freely in the tank. So it's going to be more successful trying to keep it reef if you don't have those toxins in there affecting all the other corals. So this one here, I've been using the Polyp Lab active carbon here for about 3 years now. It's been great. What I like about this one, it's all beaded and it's compressed very tightly, so there's less dust that comes off this thing with this carbon. There's a lot less PO4. With different materials out there and different companies that make active carbon, there's higher end carbon material or lower end. And this one here has very low PO4. And we know what happens with PO4. It's gonna slow down coral growth. You're gonna have algae breaks. So why add more PO4 to your tank from a product than you have to? So I definitely stand behind Polyp Lab. I've used it for like 3 years, like I was saying, and it's been great. So moving forward, like I said, you can run this one here, you can to these media bags. So what I do with the media bags, I put it in my sump in a high flow area, And plus, I do add some of this right in some of the filter socks. So the filter socks are getting hit first. So those filter socks with the carbon in there will absorb anything coming through. I have a couple near the return by the pump, so it's sucking any toxins through it as well. And it gives you that really crystal clear water like you see on my tank here. And it's one of those things that just help you be more successful on your reef by just keeping your water extra clean. Plus, if you ever walk into like somebody else that has a reef going on and you can really smell that oceany smell going on, it'll help absorb that as well. And the thing is, the corals that we get all from around the world and put in our tank, a lot of those corals don't even live together. Each coral lives in a different part of the world on a different reef, and they're not, you know, interacting with each other, and those toxins coming off that coral, you know, that other coral is not used to that. So by placing all these different corals in one area in this ecosystem, it definitely affects each other. So, you know, try to run a little bit of carbon on your tank, guys. You're definitely gonna see a lot more polyp extension, corals opening up that you wouldn't see if you were not running the carbon. So it's definitely gonna help. And just by running this, I'll bring it in close so you guys can see, like this carbon here, it's just beaded, and it works really, really well. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna fill up some media bags, get that inside the sump, and get everything going here, guys. So let's go ahead, let's get in there and get this started. So I just want to show you guys close. So see how it's beaded? That's pretty awesome. So you get a lot less dust like that. See, it's all beaded and it's tightly compressed. So here is my sump area that I have running my 6 filter socks. These are 8-inch filter socks by 12 inches long. These things work great. I find they really, you know, they really filter the water, those really, really fine particles, and they do a great job. I know a lot of people don't like to run them anymore. It causes a little bit more maintenance, but what I like about this, it actually makes me come into my fish room to do maintenance and look at the rest of my gear and make sure everything's working properly. If you have things too automated and you're just trusting everything, you're not gonna come in your room and see if something's broken down or if it's not working. So these filter socks keep me in check, and I don't mind doing it. It gives me a little bit to do. Plus, I'm not washing them manually. We're gonna throw them in the dishwasher, not dishwasher, we're gonna throw them into the washing machine and just throw a fresh set in. So let's go ahead, let's pull all these filter socks out, put the new ones in, and then we're gonna go throw the other ones in the washing machine. So we're just gonna pull these out. It's pretty simple. I just get a pail ready and we just let the water drain out. I'd let my skimmer keep going because as soon as I pull this out, anything that lets loose, the skimmer's gonna grab it. The skimmer's getting really full, a lot of skim mate. This is about a week and a bit because I don't really have much of a bio load going on, so there's not much there. So we just pull these out. Just like that, each one by one. All these one by one, just let the water drain out of them a little bit. Then transfer it into the pail. The next one. Transfer. Because the water is going to be a little bit dirty coming out of these, but the skimmer will suck that up, no problem. See, some of these filter socks aren't even really that dirty because where they're positioned. One more. So let's put those to the side and we'll put the new ones in. So just go under my shelf here. This is where I got the 6 new ones. So here's all the 6 new ones that I washed out of the washing machine before. So they're nice and clean. So all we have to do now is just place these ones back in. There's one. So we got 2. 3. 4, 5, and 6. So it's just that easy. So it's not too hard to be doing that. So right now, let's go ahead, let's go throw these old ones in the washing machine. Then we'll come back, we're gonna empty the Deltec skimmer, clean this all up so it looks great. And then we're gonna add all the active carbon. Now we're gonna add the filter socks to the washing machine. I always turn my filter socks inside out because that's where practically all the dirt is. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna throw those all in there. So it's pretty simple. So we throw those all in. And then I just grab just some white vinegar you get at Walmart for like a couple bucks. Just gotta open this one, it's a new one. So just pour a bunch in there. I like using this instead of bleach or detergent. It does the same job. And we're gonna turn it on. So I'm gonna put it on hot, heavy extra, and we're just gonna push play. So we're just gonna let that go through the whole process there. I don't like putting them in the dryer because it like messes with them, like the fabric starts to ball up. Just like, you know, like some of your fancy shirts, how they get those little fuzz bunnies, they call them on there. So we're just gonna put them outside and just let them air dry. And then when they're all done, I just put them back onto my shelf where I keep them until I do maintenance again, and it's right back on track. So all I have to do now is just fill up my media bags for the carbon, put those in a high flow area, and let them do their job. So the washing machine is done. I'm gonna show you here. So I always turn them inside out and see how clean that is compared to the previous one. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna turn them back the original way. Make sure there's nothing left on them. See, it's nice and clean, nice and white again. And that's how well that vinegar and hot water does. Everything looks awesome. And to be honest with you, with these new efficiency, like the washing machines, they spin dry things almost so fast that it's almost dry already. But we're just gonna put it outside just to give it the finishing touches. See, the other one as well, all nice and clean. So we're just gonna turn everything back the way it is. There we go. So if your wife says that you never do the laundry, you can say, well, this is considered laundry. So these ones here, as soon as they're dry, I'll put them back on the shelf and they'll be able to reuse them for the next one. So I'm just gonna go put these out on the deck, let them dry, and then we're gonna do the other process by putting all the new active carbon in all the bags, rinse it all, and drop everything into the sump. So we're just gonna take all 6 of these, and I'm just gonna put them on my deck here, and just let them air dry. Like I was saying, this, like, you know, we're doing our part with the environment, so, you know, we're reusing each one of these. So we're not adding more to the landfill, like filter flosses and all that kind of stuff. And this works great. So everything is practically back to the way I bought it. So I'll just let those dry and then I'll put them on the shelf for next time. So with my carbon, I change it out every month. What I do is I have 3 of these little media bags. So I fill these ones up, place them in my sump, and I change them out like every month. So let's fill a couple up together and then we'll rinse it. We're just gonna use cold water and we're just gonna rinse out this active carbon just to get all the particles out of it. Don't be alarmed if you see just the black segment. That's just all the dust that we want to make sure and get out of it so it doesn't just flow through our tank. So just work it around. We're gonna place one of the packs of carbon right here. This is a high flow area going chamber right back into the aquarium. This is where my bubble trap is, so there's a lot of flow here. So I just set this one in this area and that will absorb any of the toxins or anything going forward into the tank. And then my other one, I place right here in one of my filter socks because it's a high flow area as well. I have enough filter socks that if there's a lot of flow and I don't have to worry about losing everything. So I just stick one right into that filter sock because there's lots of flow. Now we're going to clean the Deltec skimmer. So what we're going to do is we're just going to open up the top. It's like there's a lot of funky business going on in here. So I just have my pail right here, and I just hang it off my cabinet on below. And with the Deltec, it comes with it's got a tube on here, and it has a valve that we just turn on and off to drain this. So I'm just going to turn this on, make sure you have it in the right direction. So that's going to empty here. And I have a little brush as well, and I'm just going to help flow all the debris and all the skimming and all the chunks down into the little tube just to help clean it. The same on the inside of the skimmer. There's a lot of nasty going on. Just so we clean the neck, keep the neck nice and clean, so we want to make sure the skimmer is completely working at 100% performance. So I'll bring you guys in closer to check this out. See, you can see how nasty that is. It really stinks bad. Just keep cleaning that. So the better, you know, the more you keep your skimmer clean, the more higher performance it's going to run. So just clean this all out. I'll take a little bit of tank water and just rinse the edges here after I'm done. I got everything clean. I cleaned the neck, I cleaned the inside. There's a little bit here, but I just leave that because this little trap here for the hose, the way it fills it up, it only keeps so much in there. I cleaned the top of the Deltec. It looks really nice and clean. Just you guys, if you're, you know, the better you keep all your equipment clean, it's gonna work so much more efficient. Like this Deltec's a beast. Like I love this. This is the best skimmer I think I've ever owned. I've owned quite a few. And this thing just rocks it out and just pulls all that sludge out of there. So that works out pretty good. Like so we got the filter socks done. We got the media bags in with the active carbon. We switched out everything. We cleaned the skimmer. So last thing I want to do is I just want to check the salinity on my tank, make sure everything's perfect, and we're good to go. What we have to do now is check the salinity on the tank, make sure the temperature and the salinity is bang on. So I always use my Hanna conductive meter. It works really good for the salinity. So we just stick it in, give it a little shake. It'll tell us what our parts per million is for our salinity and the temperature of our tank. So our tank is looking around 78.3, so that's good. And just move it around a little bit. It's coming there very soon. There we go, 1.025, so we're bang on. So it matches up with my Apex. And I just always want to double check that everything's the same. So if you guys ever get a chance to pick up one of these little tools, these things are great. And they definitely make things a lot faster when you're doing your maintenance. And just double check. I always double check my salinity, you know, almost every night. Like I have my salinity probe on the Apex, but it's always nice to have a backup too and just double check everything, make sure everything's tuned in. So that's good, perfect. So there we go, gang. We got the maintenance done on the Hulk. So that's usually what I do every other week, keep on top of everything. I like to make sure everything looks clean, all your gear is clean, there's no salt leak on everything, because every time you don't keep maintenance on any of your products, because we spend a lot of money on these things, so like your skimmer, make sure and clean it all out perfectly so it's nice and clean, it looks good, and that way it's gonna work at 100% performance the way it should, because that's what it's all about, being consistent on your tank and making sure all your products are working. Just taking that extra little time by just cleaning the neck inside your skimmer, it gives an area for the bubbles to, you know, they micro bubble and creep right out perfectly. If there's debris, they pop a little earlier. So this way you want your skim mate to definitely keep flowing over and keep it that really nice, consistent. It's almost like bubbles in a bathtub. You want them just to slowly flow over the collection cup. That's the best way I find, because you don't want your skim mate to be really watery. It's not as effective. You want it to be like a nice thick sludge coming over that. So that's one thing. And like with the carbon as well, like I said, keep your carbon up, keep your water clear, keep the toxins out of your tank, anything you don't want in there. And just, you know, just keep up on your maintenance, guys. The glass, don't let it get out of hand, because you're gonna hate it. You could be there for like an hour scrubbing away. But if you keep it perfect right out of the gate and be consistent with it, you're gonna enjoy your tank a lot more, you know? So always try to keep all your gear clean, all your maintenance stuff on track. Keep your fish room, try to keep it spotless. You're definitely gonna enjoy it more when you can walk in there. It's nice and clean. You know, like they say, everything has a place for everything on the shelf. Keep it clean, guys. You'll enjoy the hobby a lot more. And just by keeping your gear up to check, you know, routine maintenance on it, everything's gonna work 100%, and you're gonna have less failure on those as well. So, like I said, I like the filter socks and some don't, but we all enjoy things differently. My filter socks make sure I keep up on my maintenance, go in my fish room, make sure the pumps are working, the heaters are working. I know that I have the Apex, but still, you know, it's a piece of gear that could fail one day, but with a human going in there and double checking everything, you know it's gonna be on course. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you guys can hit that like button, that'd be awesome. We get 600 likes on this video and we can keep rolling forward. And if you guys can hit the little subscribe button, tell your friends all about my channel, that'd be wicked. And everybody that keeps following along, it's awesome. So leave your comments, I'll get back to you. So if you could please subscribe and hit that like button.